The bridge of the research vessel, Harmony's Edge, hummed with the quiet efficiency of a well-oiled machine. Captain Sarah Chen stood before the main viewport, watching the stars drift past like scattered diamonds on black velvet. 3 years, into humanity's first deep space exploration mission beyond the solar system, the routine had become almost meditative. "Captain," called Lieutenant Marcus Torres from the communications station, his voice cutting through the peaceful silence. "I'm picking up something unusual on the long-range sensors." Sarah turned, her dark eyes alert. At 35, she was the youngest captain to ever command a deep space vessel, a position she'd earned through a combination of brilliant tactical thinking and an unshakable calm under pressure. "Define unusual, Lieutenant." Marcus frowned at his display, fingers dancing across holographic controls. "It's a signal, ma'am. Structured, definitely artificial. But it's not coming from Earth or any of our colonies." The bridge fell silent except for the soft whisper of life support systems. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the ship's xenobiologist, looked up from her research tablet. Her weathered face, marked by decades of fieldwork on hostile worlds, showed the first spark of excitement she'd felt in months. "Are you saying it's alien in origin?" she asked, her slight accent coloring the words. "That would be my assessment, Doctor." Marcus's voice carried a tremor of barely contained excitement. "The signal is repeating every 47 minutes. It's coming from the Kepler 442 system, approximately 12 light-years from our current position." Chief Engineer Raj Patel, a stocky man with graying temples and calloused hands, whistled low. 12 light-years. That's a hell of a transmission range for any species we might encounter. Sarah moved to the communication station, her mind already shifting into command mode. "Can you decode it?" "Working on it now, Captain." Marcus's fingers flew over the controls. "The mathematical structure is complex, but there are patterns emerging. Give me another few minutes." The tension on the bridge was palpable. Every member of the crew understood the magnitude of what they might be witnessing. First contact with an alien civilization, the dream of every explorer, the fear of every strategist. "Got it," Marcus suddenly exclaimed. Then his face paled as he read the translation. "Captain, you need to see this." Sarah leaned over his shoulder, reading the decoded message that scrolled across the screen. "Urgent distress call. Galactic. Coordinate system 44273. Peaceful research colony under attack, unknown hostile forces, overwhelming firepower, civilian population at risk, evacuation impossible. Any vessels capable of assistance, please respond. Time critical, defenses failing. This is research station. Hope's light. Please help us." The bridge remained silent for a long moment, the weight of the message settling over the crew like a heavy blanket. "How long would it take us to reach their position?" Sarah asked quietly. Raj consulted his engineering displays. "At maximum warp, approximately 18 hours. But Captain, we're not a military vessel. The Harmony's Edge is designed for research and exploration." "With respect, sir," interrupted Lieutenant Jessica Park, the ship's tactical officer. "We do have defensive capabilities. Particle beam arrays, shield generators, and a complement of 20 fighters." Dr. Vasquez stood up, her eyes blazing with determination. "We can't just ignore this. If there's truly a peaceful colony under attack, we have a moral obligation to help." Sarah looked around the bridge at her crew, her family after 3 years in the void. She saw the same determination reflected in each face, the same unwillingness to turn away from those in need. "Mr. Torres, send a response," she ordered. "Tell them help is coming. Mr. Patel, I want maximum speed to the Kepler 442 system. Ms. Park, prepare all defensive systems and alert the fighter squadron." "Captain," Raj said carefully, "we don't know what we're flying into. This could be a trap or worse. We might be completely outmatched." Sarah's smile was grim but resolute. "Then we'll find out together. But we're not leaving innocent people to die if we can help it." As the Harmony's Edge changed course toward the distant star system, none of the crew could have imagined that they were about to become the first humans to discover the galaxy's greatest secret. That Earth, despite its beauty, was classified as a Class 12 death world, and its inhabitants were among the most dangerous creatures in known space. Chapter 2. First Contact. 18 hours later, the Harmony's Edge dropped out of warp at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. What they found waiting for them defied every expectation. "Jesus Christ," whispered Lieutenant Park, staring at the tactical display with wide eyes. The system was a war zone. Debris fields stretched across millions of kilometers, the twisted remains of what had once been a thriving space station. But what dominated the scene were the ships. The attacking vessels were unlike anything in human design philosophy. Sleek, organic-looking craft that seemed to flow rather than fly, their surfaces rippling with bioluminescent patterns. They moved in perfect formation, like a school of predatory fish, and they were massive. The smallest of the attack ships dwarfed the Harmony's Edge. "Count?" Sarah asked, her voice steady despite the churning in her stomach. 47 hostile vessels, Park reported. "And Captain, they're all focused on a single target." The main screen shifted to show their destination, a space station that looked more like a crystalline flower than anything built by human hands. Its delicate, branching structures were beautiful beyond description, but they were also clearly damaged. Sections had been torn away, and the surviving portions flickered with failing energy shields. "That's Hope's Light," Dr. Vasquez breathed. "It's gorgeous." "It's also about to be destroyed," Marcus added grimly. "I'm reading massive energy buildup from the attacking fleet. They're preparing for a final assault." Sarah felt the familiar calm settle over her, the same feeling she'd experienced during the asteroid mining crisis near Mars, when split-second decisions meant the difference between life and death. "Open a channel to the station," she ordered. The response came immediately, a holographic projection of a being that made every human on the bridge gasp in amazement. The alien was tall and graceful, with features that seemed almost elfin. Its skin had a subtle blue tint, and its large eyes held an intelligence that was unmistakably sentient. When it spoke, the universal translator rendered its words in a voice that sounded almost musical. "Unknown vessel, this is Administrator Zephyr of Research Station Hope's Light. We did not expect. Your species configuration is unfamiliar to us. Administrator Zephyr, I'm Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth vessel Harmony's Edge. We received your distress call. What's your tactical situation?" The alien's expression showed what could only be described as confusion mixed with desperate. "Hope. Earth? We are not familiar with this world designation. Are you affiliated with the Galactic Council?" "No," Sarah replied honestly. "We're not part of any galactic government. We're explorers from a world called Earth. But we're here to help." Zephyr's large eyes seemed to grow even wider. "One vessel against the Devourers. Honored. Captain Chen, your courage is admirable, but surely you must realize the impossibility of your task. The Devourer fleet has 47 warships. Your single vessel, while unknown to us, cannot possibly." The transmission cut off as the station shuddered under another barrage. "Captain," Park interrupted urgently. "The Devourer fleet is turning toward us. I think they've noticed our arrival." On the tactical display, the bioluminescent ships began to wheel around like a pack of wolves that had spotted new prey. Energy. Readings spiked across the board. "Range to the nearest hostile?" Sarah asked. 200,000 kilometers and closing fast." Sarah looked around her bridge one more time. Her crew was scared. She could see it in their faces. But they were also determined. They'd come too far to back down now. "All hands. This is the captain. We're about to engage an enemy force that outnumbers us 47-1. By all conventional military doctrine, we should retreat. But there are innocent people on that station who will die if we don't act, so we're going to do what humans do best." She paused, letting her words sink in. "We're going to fight back. All stations battle alert. Mr. Patel, give me everything the engines have. Ms. Park, I want firing solutions on the nearest targets. Fighter Squadron, you are cleared for launch." As the Harmony's Edge accelerated toward the Devourer fleet, The bridge was bathed in the red glow of combat lighting. None of them knew that across the galaxy, humanity was about to announce itself in the most dramatic way possible. The Devourers had made one critical error in their calculations. They had never encountered a species from a Class 12 death world before. They were about to learn why the rest of the galaxy feared them. Chapter 3. The Nature of Deathworlders. The first Devourer ship to engage the Harmony's edge, approached with what could only be described as casual confidence. To their way of thinking, this was barely worth the effort, a single unknown vessel against their overwhelming force. They learned their mistake in the first 30 seconds of combat. Firing solution locked, Lieutenant Park announced, her hands steady on the weapon's controls despite her racing heart. Fire, Sarah ordered. The Harmony's edge unleashed its particle beam arrays in a pattern that no Galactic Council species would have attempted. Instead of the precise calculated shots favored by most spacefaring civilizations, the human ship fired in rapid, overwhelming bursts designed to saturate the target's defenses. The Devourer vessel's shields flared and died under the assault. Hull breaches erupted along its organic surface as the particle beams carved through bioarmor that had withstood the weapons of a dozen different species. Direct hit, Park shouted in amazement. Their shields are down, massive hull damage. But Sarah was already moving to the next target. Maintain fire. Don't give them time to adapt. What followed was unlike any space battle in recorded galactic history. The Harmony's edge didn't fight like a civilized species. It fought like a cornered predator, striking fast and hard, using every trick in the human military playbook. Raj pushed the engines beyond their rated capacity, causing the ship to move in patterns that would have been impossible for the careful, methodical races of the Galactic Council. The human fighters launched and immediately engaged in tactics that bordered on suicidal, ramming attacks, point-blank strafing runs, and coordinated strikes that required split-second timing. "Captain," Marcus called from his station, "I'm getting communications from the Devourer fleet. They're requesting reinforcements." Dr. Vasquez looked up from her xenobiology console, where she'd been analyzing the alien biosignatures. "Sarah, I'm reading something interesting. The Devourer ship's biorhythms are showing patterns consistent with panic." "Panic?" Sarah asked, even as she coordinated another attack run. "From a fleet that outnumbers us 47-1? "Look at their formation," Park interjected. "They're breaking apart. No coordination. It's like they've never faced resistance like this before." Indeed, the Devourer fleet was in chaos. Ships that had operated in perfect formation moments before were now scattering in all directions. Some were fleeing toward the edge of the system while others seemed frozen in indecision. On the Harmony's edge's main screen, Administrator Zephyr's image reappeared, the alien's expression one of complete shock. "Captain Chen," Zephyr said, its voice barely above a whisper. What are you?" Sarah paused in her tactical coordination. "I'm sorry?" "Your species, your ship, we have never seen anything fight like this. The Devourers have conquered 17 systems, they've destroyed fleets 10 times their size. But you, a single vessel. How is this possible?" Before Sarah could answer, Dr. Vasquez stepped forward. "Administrator, may I ask what classification your species gives to inhabited worlds?" Zephyr seemed confused by the change of topic. "Classification? We use the standard Galactic Council system. Paradise worlds, garden worlds, standard worlds, and challenging worlds. Why do you ask?" "What's the most dangerous classification?" Class 4 challenging worlds are considered nearly uninhabitable. Worlds with dangerous predators, unstable climates, or toxic atmospheres. Very few species evolve on such worlds, and those that do rarely achieve spaceflight. Dr. Vasquez and Sarah exchanged glances. Earth, with its massive predators, extreme weather, tectonic activity, and asteroid impacts, would rate far higher than Class 4 on any objective scale. "Administrator," Sarah said carefully, "what happens when a species evolves on a world, more dangerous than Class 4? "Impossible," Zephyr replied immediately. The Galactic Council's xenobiological surveys have confirmed no species could survive on a world more dangerous than Class 4. The evolutionary pressures would be too extreme. The bridge fell silent except for the sounds of battle. On the tactical display, the Devourer fleet continued to retreat, leaving behind the wreckage of 6 of their ships. "Captain," Park reported, her voice filled with disbelief, "the Devourers are withdrawing from the system. All remaining ships are jumping to FTL." Sarah stared at the tactical display. 41 massive warships were fleeing from a single human vessel and its fighter complement. It seemed impossible, yet there was the evidence on the screen. "Administrator Zephyr," she said, turning back to the alien's image, "your people are safe now, but I think we need to talk." "Yes," Zephyr replied, its large eyes wide with something that might have been awe or terror. "I believe we do. Captain. Chen, may I ask where exactly this Earth of yours is located?" "Sol System, Orion Arm," Sarah replied. "Why?" Zephyr's reaction was immediate and dramatic. The alien's skin paled to an almost white color and it staggered backward. "Impossible," it whispered. That's Sector 7G, the Forbidden Zone." "Forbidden Zone?" Dr. Vasquez asked. "No vessel has entered that region of space for over 1,000 years, Zephyr explained, its voice shaking. "The Galactic Council declared it off limits after the survey teams never returned. The region is classified as containing Class 12 Deathworlds, planets so dangerous that they're considered uninhabitable, even by our most extreme estimates." The implications hit the human crew like a physical blow. Earth wasn't just more dangerous than the aliens had imagined. It was literally beyond their conception of what a livable world could be. "You're saying," Sarah said slowly, "that we're from a world that your people consider so dangerous it's forbidden?" "Not just my people," Zephyr corrected. "Every species in the Galactic Council. Class 12 Deathworlds are theoretical constructs. We never believed they could actually exist, much less support intelligent life." Dr. Vasquez laughed, a sound with no humor in it. "No wonder we just scared off a fleet that's conquered 17 systems. We're literally the monsters under their beds." As the Harmony's Edge approached the damage station for docking procedures, none of the crew could have imagined that their names were already being transmitted across the galaxy. The first contact between humanity and the Galactic Council was about to send shockwaves through civilizations that had never imagined the existence of true Deathworlders. The galaxy was about to learn that Earth's children had finally left home, and they were nothing like what anyone had expected. Chapter 4. The Galactic Response. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened 6 hours after the Battle of Hope's Light. Representatives from 43 species materialized as holograms in the vast circular chamber orbiting the Council's capital world. The air itself seemed to vibrate with tension and disbelief. High Counselor Vextar, whose species had founded the Council 3,000 years earlier, called the session to order with a gesture of one of her 4 arms. Her crystalline skin, usually a calm blue, flickered with agitated purple patterns. "We are here," she announced, "to discuss the emergence of a previously unknown species calling themselves humans from the Forbidden Sector 7G. A murmur went through the assembled representatives. Counselor Thane, of the Ethereal Collective, leaned forward, his gaseous form shimmering with concern. "Honored Vextar, surely there's been some mistake. The Deathworld surveys were conclusive. No intelligent life could evolve in that sector." "I have the battle recordings," Vextar replied grimly. "Transmitted by Administrator Zephyr of Research Station Hope's Light before we lost contact." The holographic display activated, showing the impossible scene. A single vessel engaging, 47 Devourer warships and winning. The assembled representatives watched in stunned silence as the human fighters performed maneuvers that defied every principle of safe spaceflight, as the Harmony's Edge sustained damage that should have been fatal while continuing to fight. "This cannot be accurate," declared Counselor Zethrim of the Hive Mind. "Our tactical algorithms predict a 99.97% probability of human defeat given these odds." "Your algorithms," interrupted Counselor Yara of the Warsinger clans, "don't account for Deathworld evolution." Her scarred features, marked by a lifetime of conflict, showed a respect that bordered on fear. I've seen this pattern before in my people's ancient histories. When survival requires constant adaptation to overwhelming threat, evolution creates something unprecedented. Vextar activated another display. This is the preliminary report from our xenobiological analysis team. Based on the limited data from the engagement, they've attempted to reconstruct the environmental conditions of the human homeworld. The specifications that appeared on the display caused several representatives to physically recoil. Gravity, 1.3 times council standard. Atmospheric pressure, 2.1 times council standard. Predator density, 847% above Class 4 threshold. Geological instability, extreme, constant tectonic activity. Weather extremes, hurricane-force winds, temperature variations of 100 degrees, impact events, regular asteroid bombardment, radiation exposure, 23% above safe levels. Impossible, breathed Counselor Eleth of the Garden Worlds. Nothing could survive on such a world. Yet they did more than survive, Vextar continued. They thrived. The human vessel's performance indicates a species adapted to constant mortal threat. Their reaction times, stress tolerance, and tactical innovation are unlike anything in our records. Counselor Thane's gaseous form pulsed with anxiety. What are the Council's options? That, said Vextar, is what we're here to determine. Meanwhile, aboard the Harmony's Edge, Captain Sarah Chen was having her own revelations. The ship had docked with Hope's Light, and the crew was getting their first close look at Galactic Council technology and culture. Dr. Vasquez emerged from the station's medical bay, her expression troubled. Sarah, we need to talk. Privately. They found a quiet corner of the ship's observation deck, with the alien station visible through the reinforced viewport. What did you find? Sarah asked. I've been running comparative analyses on the station's inhabitants, Elena said. Sarah, they're fragile, not just physically, though their bone density is about 30% of ours, and their muscle mass is pitiful by our standards. It's their entire psychological makeup. Explain. They've never faced real existential threat. Their homeworld is what we'd consider a garden paradise. Perfect climate, no large predators, abundant resources. They've never had to fight for survival. Sarah absorbed this information. So when they met us, they met something their entire evolutionary history never prepared them for. A species that not only survived constant mortal threat, but was shaped by it. Sarah, I don't think they're capable of understanding what we are. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Administrator Zephyr, accompanied by what appeared to be the station's senior staff. The aliens moved with the careful, deliberate motions of beings unused to physical stress. Captain Chen, Zephyr said, we have received communications from the Galactic Council. They wish to speak with you. About what? Sarah asked, though she suspected she already knew. About what your species' emergence means for the galaxy, Zephyr replied. Captain, I must ask, are there others like you? More ships? More of your people? Sarah thought about Earth's population of 12 billion, about the colonial worlds that humanity had already established, about the vast fleets under construction in the orbital shipyards. Yes, she said simply. Many others. The alien's skin paled to an almost transparent shade. How many? Billions. The station staff exchanged glances that spoke of barely controlled panic. Administrator Zephyr seemed to struggle with the concept. Captain, the Galactic Council consists of 43 species across nearly 1,000 worlds. Our combined population is approximately 400 billion. But we are not warriors. We have conflicts, yes, but they are resolved through negotiation, economic pressure, sometimes limited police actions. We have not seen true warfare for over 2 millennia. Until the Devourers, Sarah pointed out. Yes, the Devourers were our first experience with a truly aggressive species in recorded history. They have been devastating. 17 systems conquered, billions of our people enslaved or killed. Our fleets were useless against them. Dr. Vasquez stepped forward. But we stopped them. With one ship, Zephyr replied, wonder and fear mixing in its voice. One ship accomplished what our combined fleets could not. Captain Chen, your species terrifies us, but you also represent hope. The implication was clear. The Galactic Council, faced with an enemy they couldn't defeat, had discovered that salvation might come from the very beings they feared most. What exactly is the Council proposing? Sarah asked. A meeting, Zephyr replied. A formal first contact. But Captain, there are factions within the Council who believe your species represents a threat greater than the Devourers themselves. They are calling for preemptive action. Sarah felt the familiar cold calm settle over her. What kind of action? The kind that would attempt to contain or eliminate your species before you can spread further into the galaxy. The observation deck fell silent, except for the gentle hum of life support systems. Through the viewport, the stars watched impassively, as two vastly different forms of intelligence contemplated the future of galactic civilization. How long do we have? Sarah asked finally. The Council will vote in 72 hours, Zephyr replied. The outcome will determine whether humanity is welcomed into galactic society, or whether you will be declared a threat to be neutralized. Sarah looked out at the stars, thinking of Earth, of the billions of humans who had no idea their entire species was about to be judged by aliens who considered them monsters. The irony wasn't lost on her. Humanity's greatest strength might also be their greatest vulnerability. The galaxy was about to learn that sometimes the monsters under the bed are the only ones who can protect you from the things that go bump in the night. But first they had to survive their own fear. Epilogue. The vote. 72 hours later, the Galactic Council chamber was more crowded than it had been in centuries. Every species had sent their most senior representatives, and the tension was palpable across dozens of different forms of consciousness. Captain Sarah Chen stood in the center of the chamber, the first human to address the Galactic Council. She wore her dress uniform, the simple blue and gold of Earth's deep space service looking starkly military among the flowing robes and ceremonial garments of the alien representatives. High Counselor Vextar called the session to order. We are here to determine the status of the species known as humans, and whether they represent a threat to galactic peace. The debate that followed was unlike anything in the Council's long history. Some representatives argued for immediate military action, claiming that a species capable of such violence could never be trusted. Others pointed out that the humans had responded to a distress call and saved lives, showing they were capable of compassion as well as war. Counselor Yara, of the Warsinger clan, spoke for the humans. In our ancient traditions, there is a concept called the guardian predator, a dangerous creature that protects the weak, not despite its nature, but because of it. I believe we have found such a species. Counselor Thane disagreed. Their capacity for violence is unprecedented. How can we trust beings who consider constant warfare normal? Because, Sarah said, speaking for the first time, we don't consider it normal. We consider it terrible. Every human who has ever lived has dreamed of a world without war, without violence, without the constant struggle for survival. We fight because we must, not because we want to. She paused, looking around the chamber at the dozens of alien faces. You're afraid of us because we're different from you, because we evolved in hell and learned to make it our home. But we're not monsters. We're just survivors, and sometimes the galaxy needs survivors. The vote, when it came, was closer than anyone had predicted. 22 species in favor of integration, 21 against. High Counselor Vextar cast the deciding vote. In favor of integration, she announced, with conditions. The conditions were strict. Human expansion into the galaxy would be monitored. Human military technology would be shared with the Council for defensive purposes only, and humanity would serve as the galaxy's first line of defense against threats like the Devourers. As the session ended, Sarah found herself approached by Administrator Zephyr. Captain Chen, the alien said, I wanted to thank you. Not just for saving my station, but for showing us that different doesn't always mean dangerous. Sometimes, Sarah replied, it just means useful. 6 months later, the Harmony's Edge led a small fleet of human vessels to the Galactic Council's capital world. Humanity's integration into galactic society was proceeding slowly but steadily, with human Deathworlder units serving alongside Council forces to push back the Devourer invasion. The galaxy was learning that its newest members brought more than just military might. They brought innovation, determination, and a stubborn refusal to accept defeat that was slowly changing how every species thought about the possible. Dr. Vasquez stood on the bridge of the Harmony's Edge, watching Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Council prepare for another day of negotiations. Do you think we'll fit in? She asked Sarah. Sarah smiled, thinking of the human children who were already learning to speak alien languages, of the joint research projects beginning to bear fruit, of the slowly growing trust between species. We'll make our own fit, she said. We always do. In the depths of space, the Devourers regrouped and planned their next assault. But now they faced something they had never encountered before, an entire galaxy that refused to surrender, led by a species that had learned 10,000 years ago that sometimes the only way to find peace is to be ready for war. The galaxy had found its guardians, and the guardians had finally found their home. The end.